गुड मॉर्निंग फ्रेंड्स। आज हम सेल्सफोर्स में LWC मीन्स लाइटनिंग वेब कंपाउंड के कुछ एग्जांपल देखते हैं, क्योंकि ये क्वेश्चंस इंटरव्यू में पूछे जाते हैं। तो स्टार्ट करते हैं क्वेश्चंस। व्हाट इज LWC? LWC is a user interface UI framework used by Salesforce developers. It helps developers to constant, lightweight, efficient, and reusable and compounds. It's utilized the widely accepted web technology like HTML, CSS, JavaScript. That is the result in the case of the maintenance, a high performance, and improve code the resultability. The great things about the LWC is that it is a integrate similarly with the Salesforce platform, allowing the developers to build custom web application that can be the deploy and manage within the Salesforce environment. This makes the LWC an idea choice for the developers who want to create custom solutions for the Salesforce origin. Next question: what is the difference between the Salesforce Lightning and the LWC? Features, purpose, interests based on key features, audience, and use cases. Salesforce Lightning, it is a user interface framework for the Salesforce platform, introduced 2014, and it is based on the Aura frameworks. It has customized page layout, drag and drop compounds, and improve the navigations in Salesforce administrations and developers. And it is a improve users experience with the Salesforce platforms. Next, LWC Lightning Web Compounds. It is a programming models used for the binding custom web compounds 2019. It is a based of the modern web standard, the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It is a lightweight and a modular approach to the building web compounds. Web developers, it is a used for building custom web compounds for the use within the Salesforce or the web applications. Next questions. Explain the life cycle hook of the LWC compounds. The life cycle hook of LWC compounds refer to the series of methods that are invoked during the time of the compounds creations, update and remove from the DOM. These methods provide way, interact, and manipulate of the compounds different stage of the life cycle. These are divided into the different stage creations, rendering, updating, and removing. During each stage, the compounds goes from set of the life cycles hook that are used for performing the certain action or updating the properties state of the compounds contractors. It is a first method that is a call when the compounds is created, and it is used to utilize the compounds properties and stage connected callback. This is method is a call when the compounds is interested into the DOM and the modely. This is methods used to the perform the utilizations or used to set up the event license. Next, our renders. This is a method is a call, and whenever the compounds needs to be render or the renders, this methods return the HTML markup that can be used to the create and compounds DOM nodes. Next, render the callback. This methods is a call after the compounds is a render or re-renders. This is methods can be the use to perform the additional utilizations or update different tasks that is a need to the access DOM. Next, a disconnected callback. This method is a call when the compounds is removed from the DOM. This methods is useful in the clearing of the resource or removing event listener. Next, what are the benefits of the using the LWC over the traditional JavaScript framework? The LWC Lightning Web Compounds has a several benefit over the traditional JavaScript framework. Some of them are modern web standard. LWC is built using the modern web standard like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. This make it is easier to the started with the LWC development. Lightweight and fast, LWC has a small footprint, which means it is can be the loaded and the executed quickly. This result in the faster page load time and a better user experience. Next, modular architectures. It is allow the developers to build reusable and maintainable compounds. This save of the lot of the time and effort into login run. Capability with the Salesforce. LWC is a fully compatible with of the Salesforce platform, which allow the binding of custom components that integrate easily with of the Salesforce application and the data. Next, powerful tools and the resource. LWC has a robust set of the tools resource available like the powerful IDE, compressive the documentations and to the community of developers. This make it is easily to learn and use to LWC and to get help and support when needed. Next, how do you handle user the event in the LWC? Suppose we want to handle users event and button the click of the display and alert the message. So we cannot handle this event as define the methods in the compounds JavaScript file that will be handled but a button click event. For example, we can define the methods called the handle button click event. Code to the handle button click pose the yes. Use event binding to the associate of the handle button click methods with the buttons click event. In the example, we'll use to the on click the attribute of the bind of the methods to be event. Lightning button labels click name on click is equal to bracket handle button the click bracket close and lightning the buttons. Inside the handle button click methods, you can access the information about the event that was the triggers using the event parameters. For example, we could display the message when the button of the click handle button click the event windows dot alert bracket the button click it bracket close. And if we can integrate all of the code into the compounds, then the code will be template. Lightning buttons label is equal to click me. One click is equal to bracket handle button click bracket close greater than lightning the button greater than less than. And templates script import lightning the element bracket close from the LWC. Export the default class my compounds extend lightning the element. Handle button click the event windows dot alerts button the clicked and script. Next, what are the decorators list? Some word in the decorator provided by LWC. Decorator is a features in the modern JavaScript that is allow annotating and modify for the adding some additional functionalities to classes and class members like the properties and the methods. Using the decoration in the LWC, we can define and modify the behavior of the components. There are some of the button decorator provide the LWC that we can use to define the properties and the methods in the compounds. API, this is a annotations is used to define the public property that can be the accessed by other the compounds. Wires, this is the annotations is used to connect the compounds and compounds to and the apex methods or the via the adapters. Next, track. These annotations define a reactive property that caches the compounds to re-renders when the property change. Next, track map. These annotations define a reactive map that case, that is the compounds to the re-renders when the map is a modifier. Track array, this annotation define a reactive array, that is the case the compounds to re-renders when the array is modified. Next, API method, this is the annotations defined public methods that can be the call by other compounds. Next, wire methods. This is the annotations is defined to the connect compounds to the and apex methods or write the adapters and returns the result as a reactive the properties. Next, explaining the details about API and track decorator in WC. In WC, both API and track decorator are used to define the properties of the compounds, but they serve the different purpose. Then API decorator is used to the defined public property that can be the accessed by the compounds. This allows the passing data between the compounds in a parent chats relationship with the between the upload unrelated and compounds using the Lightning the message service. Here's this example of how we can use the API decorator to the defined public properties. Import Lightning the element API from the LWC. Export default class in my compounds. Extend the Lightning element. API message is equal to hello words. Now the compounds and defined is a defined the other the compounds can be accessed to property using the notations like this. My compounds and message hello the from the parents my compounds. The track the decorator is used to the define reactive the property. It is mainly suppose there are any changes into the property, then the whole compounds will be renders. This is a use when we need to the updated and compounds you are the based on the change to the property. Here is an example of how we can use to track decorator to the define and reactive the properties. Import Lightning the element track from the LWC. Export default the class my compounds external Lightning the element. Track count is equal to 0. Handle click this count plus. And in this example, the count property is a defining as a reactive the property using of the track decorator when your handle click methods is the call and the count property in the increment and the compounds render to the display the new value. Next questions. How do you handle user input in the LWC forms? We can handle user the input the from the using the event handle and data binding. Event handle the LWC provide some bulk event handle that we want to use and handling user the input click like on click the on change and on submit. It's for the example. Suppose we want to handle and button click event. We want to the define on click the event handle on the button the element like this. Lightning the buttons and labels, submit the out on click and handle submit. Lightning the buttons in the compounds JavaScript file we can define the and handle submit methods to handle the buttons click event like this and handle submit event. Handle the button click event here. Data binding LWC has some data and binding the features input that is help in the binding that is value of the input element of the properties in the compounds state we can use and track the width of the keep track of the value assigned to the properties, and using this we can handle users input. For example, suppose we need to the bin the value of and input the element to the properties for the first names, then we can use to value attribute and like this and import Lightning element track from the LWC. Export default the class by the compounds external Lightning the element. Track the first names is equal to and handle the change and event. The first this first name is equal to event and target value. The track decorator is used to define an first name and properties as a reactive property. That is the case of the compounds to the render whenever it is value change, the handle change and methods is a call, and whenever the users input new value and in and it update the first name and property in the compound stage. Next, how can you render multiple template in LWC? In LWC, we can display multiple template and additionally based on the compounds stage using the if to the directive. Here is an example of how to display multiple template in LWC. Template is if 2 is equal to bracket show template 1 bracket close, and P, this is a template first, and P template if is equal to 2 is equal to I show template the 2 and bracket close, P less than P, and this is example 2 in 2 and P, and template next template, and in this the example the if to the decryptive is used to the coordinationally render each of the template based on the compounds show the template and the show the template properties. When the show templates and properties are true, the first template in renders, and when the show template in property is a true, the second the template it is a template is renders. Next, explain Aura enables capable to annotations. Give an example of how you can use it. In LWC and Aura enables and checkable true. Annotations is used to the check used to change the service response on the client side, making subsequent calls to the some server methods faster and more efficient. When a server method is market and catchable, the Lightning the platform store and methods response is the client of the cache. If the sum methods is called and again without the same parameter, this is Lightning platform can be retrieve the response from the cache and instant making the new server call. This is can be improve the performance and reduce the network traffic. Consider the below the example to us of the annotations. Input bracket Lightning the element right bracket close from the LWC. Input bracket get the records bracket close from the Lightning the UI records API. Const fields and is equal to bracket the account and name and account the phones and bracket close. Export default class the account amount account details. Extend the Lightning the element accounts ID is equal to 001 and at the rate where bracket get records bracket records ID and account the ID fields bracket close account get name and return these accounts data fields name the value. Get phones return this is account data fields from the value. In this example, the get refer function is the make and catchable by the using the at the rate Aura enable catchable to annotation. This is a means that the response from the get records function that will be get captured on the client the side and sequence calls with the some parameters with the retrieve the case response instant from the ranking the new server calls. Next, can you explain the difference between the compounds event and application event in LWC. Future scope handling communication directions and talks event creations. Compounds event. It is a scoring the limited to the compounds hierarchy. It is handled within of the compounds hierarchy upward from the childs to parents. See my compounds on my event handle event. This display patch event now custom event my event details my details application event. It has a global scope. It has a handle by any compounds that is subscribed to the event. Any directions lightning the lightning EMP API on message equal to bracket handle event and bracket close cons event and is equal to and a get bracket e dot c dot my event bracket close and is equal to event in the set of the parents. My parents is equal to my value bracket close event files. Next questions. Explain the bounding and unbound expression in LWC. In LWC, expression used to the dynamically displaying the data of the template. There are two type of the different type of the expensive LWC bounded. The expense are included within the double squarely brace. They are used to the display data value of the template. That is a decorator from of the compounds JavaScript class and HTML attribute. These expressions can be also be used to call in methods on the compounds in the JavaScript and class. Let's understand this is an example template. If hello name welcome to the my website. The result of the adding first and second is a add numbers templates. Here is a name and add numbers first and second are the enables. Expression name is a properties defined is a compounds JavaScript class and the add numbers is the number is the methods defined in the sum class. Unbound the expression that is included within the single query based brace. There are the use to the value in JavaScript expression in the template itself. Unbound the expression can be used to the assigned value of the HTML attribute to the conditional renders in HTML element. And let's understand this is also the width of the examples. Template input the type is equal to text value is equal to bracket input the value in bracket close. Template if is equal to dot is equal to bracket close show the message and bracket close. P the message is the is equal to and bracket message bracket close and P templates and here the input the value and bracket the show message bracket close is the unbound the expression. Here we are the conditionally and rendering the value that value the computed inside the tags. Next questions. What is the role of the Lightning message service in LWC? The Lightning message service in LWC provides a way of the compounds and communicate with of the each others using the publish and subscribe message model. It is a consent of the message channels and message the payloads that is help the compounds to the send and receive the message is a loosely couple and manner the compounds can be the subscribe the two channels to the receive the message and can send message on the specific channels to any other the compounds that has subscribed to the that channels. For example, suppose there is a parents compounds that have two childs compound. One child's compounds is responsible for the displaying the list of the items. Will is the order child's compound responsible to displaying the details of the selected items. When the users select the items from the list, the first child's compounds can be sent the message and specify the channels without the details. The selected items the second child's compounds which has a subscribed to the same parents compounds template. See item the list, and once one items is equal to a bracket handle the item the select bracket plus and see item the list. See item list, see item details, see detail, item details and template. Child first compounds template you will template the for the each and items for the each items likely items ID on click handle the item the click data item the ID and item the ID and item the name and template UL and template. Next, a child second compounds template div if true and is equal to bracket select items bracket close yes2 sorry yes2 bracket select the items and dot name bracket close yes2 and p bracket select item the dot describe the bracket close and p div the if the false is equal to the bracket selection selected items bracket close p please select the and item from the list p and div template all these template compounds we can utilize into the render and function. So when the users select and items from the list of the list in the first child's compounds, the second child's and compounds should be received and message the containing the details of the selected items and the updated in the display ordinary. Next, can you explain the role of the Salesforce object query language SQL in the LWC? SQL is a query language used to the Lightning Web Compounds LWC to the retrieve data from the Salesforce database. It is allowed to developers and to customize the data. They are retrieved by using filters of order and grouping the clauses and the assigning related object in LWC SQL and frequently use it to the retrieve data from the Salesforce object and displaying and the users and interface the where the adapted and the imperative apex call and LWC provide the developers with of the way to the make and server the side calls to the retrieve the data SQL and offering the flexibility of the control way over the query extension. The overall SQL enables the developer to create a dynamic and customize users interface in LWC that is made to the specific need of users. For example, suppose we need to the extract the some need to records with the particular records ID. Then the code I will be impact lighting the element where the from LWC import the get the records from the Lightning and you have the records API impact upon the object from the Salesforce schema and account import name and fetch from the Salesforce schema and account name. Export the default to class SQL and example extend the Lightning element via the get records and record the ID and name the fields accounts get account name return this is the account data fields in the name of the value. In this example, we are using the get records with via the adapter from the Lightning the records API model to the fetch the name of fields and account the records with of the for ID 001 first and the records ID parameters set of the ID of the records we want to the fields. The records ID parameter set of the ID, the records we want to the fetch and the fields parameter is set of array the containing the name fields consent which of the represent the name fields on of the upon the object. Next questions. Explain the difference between the getter and setter is a LWC. Function, syntax, uses, parameters, return type, and models. Getter retrieve the value of the property. Define the using the get keywords allow the by the property name. Access the value of the property without the modifying the it. No parameters. Return the value. Does not the modify the property. Setters set of the value of property. Define the using the set of the keywords and followed by the property name. Modify the value of the property. Take one of the parameter representing the new value to the be assigned to the property. Does not return the value. Modify the property. Next question. How do you create the Lightning app, the enables and LWC components to get the started? First, we want to create an LWC component, that is we want to then enables. We want to use two Lightning web components playground in the Salesforce CLI to the create the components. Once we have to the components, then we need to the create and this Lightning the app itself. There are the 5 different tools we can use for this, like using in Salesforce Developer console of the Salesforce CLI to the create the app. Once two app is created, we can then invest the LWC components that we have created internally within it. This evaluate invalid reference the components within the app using the specific syntax. We also want to the configure the app to the ensure that it is a set of the coordinate link and that any necessarily event and handling in the space. We can include the components like this. Our application extend for force sales my LWC components or applications in the about the snippet we have to the components and LWC components. Suppose we need to the enable these components in this is the Lightning app. So here we can here we can use this syntax is to reference the components within the app. Next questions. And can you explain how to the use in the aspect of promise in the LWC and the give example? To use promise in the LWC, first of the all, we need to create a new promise object. This object expression on the operations that will be completed at some point in the futures. Then we have to use and then methods to define what should be happen when the operation is successful, and the catch methods to the define, that is define what should be happening the errors and cases accuracy. Later understand this is without the help of the example. Input lighting the element we are from the LWC. We import fetch and data from the Salesforce Apex. My controller fetch in data. Export default the class. My components extend the Lightning element data via the fetch data result data and the data. This data is equal to data catch bracket errors is equal to and console dot errors and bracket errors bracket close. In this example, then method is used to define what should happen when the promise is successfully resolved. In the case the data variable is set to the result of the promise, return the value. The cache or the method is used to define how will happen in the promise is rejected to the and errors. In this case, the error is a login to the console. Next question: how do you see the Salesforce REST API and LWC? What are the best and practice in integration with the external system? To use to the Salesforce REST API LWC, we can use to the built in fetch methods or the third-party library like the access of the query. Consider of the below the example of how we can use to the fetch methods we make to call to the Salesforce REST API. Import Lightning the element from the LWC. Export default class my components. Extend the Lightning element. Connected the callbacks. Concept in points service data and 53.0 query queue is equal to select and plus name plus from plus accounts. Fetch bracket the in points and methods get headers authorizations better 2 plus out token. Next, then I bracket response and return the response in Johnson. Next, and then bracket data dot is equal to console dot log bracket the data bracket close catch bracket errors is equal to console dot errors and bracket close. In this example, phase of the methods is to the make get of the request in the Salesforce REST API. This is authorizations and header is used to the include the authorizations token the requirement required to the make the request is the response is then pressed to the JSON is John's methods and the resulting data is long to the console. Next questions. What are the best practice that you should be for the integration with of the external system? When integrating with external system, there are 5 best practice we should be keep in mind. Always is to secure the authentications methods such as out to authentic with of the example system. Use API versioning to the ensure that change to the external system API don't break in the integrations. Use errors handling to gratefully handle errors that is maybe occurred when making the API calls. Minimize the number of the making API calls and bulk API batch processing where the possible improve the performance by the following those based practice. We cannot create and resource and reliable integration with the external system that is provide the seamless experience for the users. Next question, what are the best practice binding the receivable the LWC compounds? Some points of the mention below that is can be the follow the binding receivable the LWC compounds using the clear and the descriptive the naming the conversions converter conventions. We must have to give the LWC compounds descriptive and meaningful name that is actually reflect that is their the purpose and the functionality. This make is a desire for other the developer to the understand what are how the compounds does and how it is can be the use the clear and on side and the documentations we must have to the provide clear and on-site that documentations for the LWC compounds, including the information and how to use them, any required properties, parameters, and any relevant limitations of the noun issue. Use CSS best practice. We must have to best practice for the CSS like using classes instead of the ID, avoiding the global style and using the concept naming the conversions. Next, use event driving the architectures. We must have to the best event drive the architecture to enable communications between the LWC compounds. This make it is as I to the bird example interconnected and compounds that can be the use to verify the of context. Next, use standard designing partners. We must have to use standard designing partners such as a single release Relationability principle SRP and description of the corners SOK. So to create the compounds that are easy to the understand and the modify. Keep the compounds simple and focus. We need to keep the compounds as simple and focus on single task and functionality. This make is desired to the result ratios. They will difference from context and avoid to unnecessarily and complexity. Next question, what is the purpose of this Lightning the data service in LWC? The purpose of the Lightning data service in LWC to the provide and create efficiency way to the perform the CRUD, create, reads and update and delete operations is. Next questions. What is the purpose of the Lightning data service in the LWC? The purpose of the Lightning data service in the LWC is to provide the declarative and efficient way to the perform crowd, create, read, update, and delete operation and Salesforce record. It is a framework that provide this service work. That work is a data layer the between LWC compound and a Salesforce database. The Lightning the data service provide the server benefit of the LWC compounds. Declarative data binding the width of the Lightning the data service. You can the declarative by the UN give the compounds. You have the element to the record data without the written in Apex code and SQL queries. This is a simplify the code of the record and the development time. Catching the automated records and updated in the Lightning data service cache and records data to locally on the client of side and automatically update in the vein, change the accurate in the database. This is an improvement, improve the performance and reduce and number of the number of the round trips in the server. Automated and crowd the operation, the Lightning the data service provide the set of the methods to the create, read, and update and delete and records. These methods are the automatically implement and available for use in your LWC compounds. Automated sharing the feeds level security, the Lightning data service certainly enforce sharing the rules and feeds level security when reading of modifying the record. This is ensure that you the compounds and data access to the security setting that define in your the Salesforce org. How to the ensure that is you the LWC compound other to the assemblability and standard of the guidelines. Here are the some best practice that is we can follow. You use some lines of HTML using the HTML tags that is accurately describe the purpose of the content such as a header, new, main, articles, sections, photos. This is make of the content more the meaningful to effective. Technology like the screen readers add the all text and image or always include the text for the image and other the non-text content so that assistive technology can be described in the visibility impair the users. Use higher context color. Ensure that LWC compounds has a efficient color the context between the text and the backgrounds to make is easy to read for users with visual impairment. Next, use Aura attribute. Use the assemble rich internet application areas and attribute that provide the additional information about the purpose of the UI element like rows, labels, and the state. This help string technology to the provide the more accurate and the meaningful description of the UI. Text with assertive the technology takes LWC compound using the screen readers, keyboards, navigations, and they are the assertive the technology to the ensure that is can be used effective by users with the disability. Used to the Lightning records API models. The Lightning records API models include the symbol methods to be read and updated records field and handle errors in more the simple way. Follow the WCAG guideline. The web contain the simplicity guideline. The WCAG provide the comprehensive set of the guidelines for the ensuring that is web content assemble to the big guidelines as much of the possible which are developing the LWC components. Next question, how to the dynamically data get the updated in the wire the methods where the updated are part of the Lightning web compounds reactivity system and the wire the adapter taken to the parameters. One of the on is the name of the wire the adapter, and second one is an optional configuration object you can use to the mark the property and of configurations object and dynamic when dynamic the property values change. The wire the methods execute with the new value and provide the adapted new data as a compounds get the renders to the show in the change. Copy all code. Import Lightning the element API wire from the LWC. Export the default class via the example context. Extend API account ID via the account ID and account information. Next question, how to manually call via the methods to update in data. We now that wire the provide the data. If we are using the wire function, we have the parameter to display data in the front, and in that data will not be changed to updated unless input the parameters change the which are the used to the wire by using refresh apex. In LWC we can call the wire the function we wire the parameter data manually, so that where the data get the updated and the compounds will be renders. Copy all code after update get updated accounts, then bracket result is equal to refresh apex and bracket things dot get and wire the accounts calling the wire methods, and catch bracket errors is equal to these errors is equal to errors. Next questions, different between the calling the methods behind at the red wire of the imperative wire to use of apex wire the you must annotate it with capable true. Wire is a reactive when the wire service get data that is a compound re-render. Wire methods get the call it is self to updated data if the parameter value change. Also call wire that methods manually using the refresh apex. Imperative the calling to us apex methods view the imperative no need to the annotate it with capable true. Next question, what get records via the methods does. It is used to the get the records data. We have to pass the records ID and which data we need. It also means what are the fields you need. Copy all code. Import Lightning element API via the from the LWC. Import get records from the Lightning the API records API. Export default class app records extend Lightning element API records ID where the get records and the records ID fields opportunity name records. Next questions, what is the get picklist value where the methods use get picklist value where the methods get to get the picklist value for the specific fields. Copy all codes, import and bracket Lightning element API wire from the LWC. Import bracket get picklist value bracket close from the Lightning UI records app API. Export default cross the account records extend Lightning the element API records ID wire get the picklist value bracket records ID fields API name account listing records. Next, what is the get pick list value by records type of via the methods. Use get pick list value by records type via the methods to get the value for the every pick list of specific records type. Copy all code, import lightning element API wire from LWC import bracket get pick list value records by records type from lightning the UI records API. Export default class account the records extend lightning the element API records ID via the get picklist value by records type bracket object name account records ID is equal to dot dot and records. Next questions. What is the get object via the methods? Use get object via the adapters to get the metadata any object if it will be written to metadata describing fields, check the relationship records, type and name and some more. Copy all codes, import the lightning element API via the from the LWC import, get the object info from lightning, UI the records API, export the default class and account the object, extend lightning the element, API records ID via the object info and object the API name records at account the info. Next questions, what is the get list you have via the methods? Use get list UI wire adapters return the records and metadata for the list view. Copy your code, import lightning element API wire from the LWC, import get list UI from the lightning UI records API, export default class account object, extend lightning element API records ID wire get list of the UI object API name account list view the API name and banking the account list view the info. Next questions. What is the get records UI via the methods? Use get records via adapter to get the layout, the information, metadata and data to the built UI for on the more records. Copy all the code, import the lightning the element API via the from the LWC, import bracket records UI bracket close from the lightning UI the records API, export default class account object, extend the lightning element wire get records UI and records ID dot layout the type and bracket force and made bracket view bracket close list view and info. और थैंक यू फ्रेंड्स, आज हमने देखा है कि एलडब्ल्यूसी कुछ क्वेश्चन देखा है जो एग्जांपल में ये क्वेश्चन पूछे जाते हैं। तो इस क्वेश्चन को आप अगर अच्छी तरह से रीड करते हो और इंटरव्यू में जाते हो तो इस क्वेश्चन का आपको भी बेनिफिट होगा। तो अगर मेरा यूट्यूब चैनल आपको पसंद आता है तो मेरे यूट्यूब चैनल को लाइक और सब्सक्राइब करना मत भूलिए। तो मिलते हैं अगली वीडियो में। थैंक यू, बाय बाय।